In this lesson, you will find the zeros, the extrema, and graph polynomial functions. So what I'm going to ask y'all to do is you're going to graph these polynomial functions based off that you found the zeros in the extrema and that you give me those type of points, and that way you can draw your graph and I just go whatever. Okay? So let's see. Let's look at this and let's define. Alright. Okay, so here's a graph. And you can see based on the thing it says it's negative x to the fourth plus x cubed plus 3x squared plus 2x. Okay, you can notice that it crosses the x-axis twice, so that means there's two real zeros, and you kind of see how it curves and that there's one turn. This right here, I'll try to avoid, but that's something that you see like in usually more in pre-calc. So kind of be careful there. So how do I find this? Okay, once you've got it graphed, so this is what I'm asking y'all to do. Once you have it graphed, you go to the calculator, or once you get with a problem, graph it on the calculator, and then press menu 5-1. Okay, that should give you the ability to find the zeros and the max and the min. Okay, in this case, there's only one maximum, and that maximum happens to happen at 1.76 times, 8.67. I'll look at ways to try to make this less decimals, I guess, but we'll see. Either way, you can see how this works. Whoopsie. You can see how this works to get the zeros. This one happened at 0, and the other one happened at 2.51. Okay, so it shouldn't be anything all that difficult. So let's look at another problem. So here I've got x cubed minus 4x squared plus 3x plus 1. Okay, and again, notice here I'm doing the same thing that I did earlier. Okay, all I did was add a page. By adding a page, I pressed Control Doc. That gave me a new page, and I added a calculator page. So that way, again, I can go back and forth between pages. But when I do that, this will allow me to have for a copy of all my problems if I need to go back and look at them in case I made a mistake. Now you can see here there are 3 zeros and 2 terms. Now those terms are called relative maximum and minimum, and those are actually together are called extrema. So you'll see that in a second. Okay, so I have a maximum and minimum because there's a high and a low point, and those together are called extrema. They're called relative max and mins because they're relative to the graph. They're not the absolute. They're not the lowest or the highest. Okay, now the zeros. Okay, again, you got to find the relative maximum, the relative min, and the zeros. Press menu 5-1 on the calculator, and then just start looking for them. And it'll tell you the first one is negative 0.247, and then I found my relative maximum at 0.451, 1.63. Then the next zero happens at 1.45, and so I'm basically going this direction like that, all right? And then I would have the minimum at 2.22, negative 1.1. This is all information the calculator would have been giving you. And then finally, the final zero at 2.8. Oops, 2.8. Okay, so basically I went from left to right and worked my way around and found points as it gave them to me. Okay? Nothing very complicated here. Now, how would I graph that? I would graph those zeros, graph those points, and kind of just try to be approximate as much as I can, and then connect the dots. If you know the end behavior, then you would easily be able to say, okay, from the last zero, it should be going that way, going down. And from the last zero, this one should be going up. So that's where the end behavior becomes important. So if you know your end behavior, obviously you can see the graph too, but I'm trying to get y'all to visualize. Because maybe later on, I'll give you the relative max, min, and the zeros, and then describe the end behavior and expect you to give me the graph. Okay, so last example, f of x is equal to, I should have been saying f of x on all of these, x to the fourth minus 3x cubed minus 2x squared plus x plus 1. You can see the graph there. So I have a relative max and I have a relative min. Notice this is one that should have 4 zeros and it only has 2. So that should tell you something. Okay? And even though you can't see it, there's a relative min, there's another max, and the way down here there's another min. So So there's actually two mins. So you got to pay attention to those terms. So there's two mins here with only one zero. Okay, the first relative min you'll get is negative 0.53, 0.434. Then you get a max at 1.182. And again, manufacture 1 to get this, 1.1. And then finally you get a 0. So that means that turn happened. And so that means if there's two zeros, that means there's also two imaginary answers. Keep that in mind. So I get a 0 at 0.686. And I'm going to get to my next minimum, 2.6 comma negative 17, way down there. So I followed that. So basically I went down and found it, and then I'm going back up, and it tells me my final 0 happens at 3.47. So we're going to use the calculator to find these and do a lot of this, and should hopefully make it fairly easy. The main idea that I want is that you can find the max and mins and the zeros. Alright? And we'll discuss those importance later. But again, this should be something that should hopefully help y'all do better on the test. Alright? Thank y'all very much, and I hope to have these notes. See y'all have these notes tomorrow. Take care.